session. So hello and welcome everybody to your free masterclass today, focusing on accelerating health improvement through neighbourhood group clinics. And just to let you know, we have had just over 500 sign-ups for today, so we have muted everyone to maintain the sound quality, but please do still interact with us through the chat. And if you haven't already, please do post your name, your location and your role in the chat so we can say hello and welcome you. So my name is Alicia Evans and I'm the National Programme Manager for the Experience-Led Care Programme. And I'm delighted to be joined today by my colleague and Director of the programme, Georgina Craig. We are both especially excited to welcome our guest speakers from the North Sedgemoor WELLbeing Works team. So joining us are Helen Rostron and Dr. Matthew Dolman from the North Sedgemoor PCN in Somerset. And we also have Fiona Green from Somerset Community Trust and Leanne Clark and Claire Hunter from the Somerset Activity and Sports Partnership, or SASP. So just to say, we're incredibly grateful for all of you giving up your time today to share your experience. So big, massive thank you to you for coming today. Okay, so by the end of the session today, you will understand how neighbourhood group clinics work and why they accelerate integration. You'll also learn how North Sedgemoor PCN has harnessed the neighbourhood group clinic model to deliver integrated, personalised care for people with complex needs. You'll also know what resources you can access to make the case for adoption of neighbourhood group clinics in your area, and you'll also receive some publications and resources to help you with that. And as always, I'm going to set up the session in the style of a group clinic. We take every opportunity to model the process of a group clinic so you can see what it will look and feel like in practice. So some of you will have seen this before if you are working with us on our training programme, so it might be a nice refresher, or if you've attended any webinars before. So we have 3 posters in front of us. We have our session flow, our group understandings and our car park. And you'd use all of these in a group clinic. So in terms of our session flow, we're currently in our welcome stage. I'll then go on to give you a brief overview on what group clinics are, and then I'll hand over to Georgina to cover the neighbourhood health principles, and then we will hand over to North Sedgemoor to hear about their exciting group clinic story. And following that, we'll give you some resources to get started, and towards the end, we will have some time for a Q&A before we close no later than 1:30. And in the middle there, we have our group understandings, and some of these are less relevant for the masterclass today, but for consistency, we always use the same understandings to demonstrate what that would look like in a group clinic. So let's use this time really well together, be present, stay curious, ask us lots of questions. There's no such thing as a silly question. And maintaining confidentiality is very important in group clinics, and our training programme does go into a lot of great detail around that. But for today's session, confidentiality is not an issue. So we're recording for our own continuous improvement, and we'll send you that recording afterwards. As you know, we have muted everyone today to maintain the sound quality due to the high number of people that have signed up. But please do still interact with us through the chat, and spelling mistakes are very welcome, and you'd emphasise that in your group clinics too, because we are all human. If your technology isn't working, please do try and let us know if you can through the chat. Leaving and rejoining usually resolves common Microsoft Teams issues, so give that a go. And in a live group clinic, we'd ask you to let us know straight away if patients are feeling unwell so that you can get help to them if you need to. For the purposes of today, I will assume you're all well and capable of looking after yourselves and getting help if you need it. Georgina and I will make sure we stick to time today. We're due to close at 1:30. And if there is anything else you'd like to add to those understandings, please do pop them in the chat and we can add them on there. Okay, and then we have the car park on the far right of the screen. So this is something that will help us keep on track with the session. So if you have a question today that we can't answer straight away, we'll pop it into the car park and make sure we get back to you with the relevant information. So Georgina's just put a little test message in there to show you how it works. That's also something you'll use in a group clinic to follow up on actions and help you with documenting. So do feel free to use the chat for any questions, any comments, any thoughts, and then Georgina and I will car park things as we need to. Okay, I can hear a bit of background noise, so just a reminder, if your mic is unmuted, please do pop it on mute if you can. Thank you very much. Okay, so we always start with a temperature check. So please can you let me know in the chat on a scale from 1 to 10, how confident do you feel about understanding the concept of neighbourhood group clinics? So a 1 would be not very confident at all, and a 10 would be really, really confident about it. Fantastic, keep those numbers coming in. I can see lots of 9s, lots of 7s, 2s, 1s, 3s, 4s. We've got a real variety of confidence scores. So what we'll do is we'll take an average of those after the event, and hopefully we'll see an increase in your average by the end of the session today. So keep those numbers coming in, scale of 1 to 10. How confident do you feel about understanding the concept of neighbourhood group clinics? Okay, and whilst you're doing that, I'll go on to the next section. So what are group clinics? Group clinics are an alternative way of consulting with people. So they include individual clinical consultations delivered within a supportive peer group setting. And usually, if you're delivering a video group clinic or a VGC, you'd have around 6 to 8 patients or around 10 to 12 for face-to-face. It's a consultation with a group of people with a similar condition or a similar set of clinical problems, and they're always managed from start to finish by a facilitator. Typically, they last for around 60 to 90 minutes long, and the clinician doesn't have to be present for the whole thing. They could be present for just 45 minutes, which is the central clinical session. And if you're delivering VGCs, they're always conducted via an NHS-approved platform. So this is a question we often get: what's the difference between group education and group clinics? So group education will have a set curriculum and lesson plan, often led by a clinician educator. It may include a participatory group discussion, but importantly, it's an adjunct to planned care. It's not instead of. There will be no personalised one-to-one discussion, and you can't classify it as a clinical appointment. Whereas with group clinics, it is structured around that clinical assessment or review. It's totally led by patients' questions and concerns and what matters to them. It will include that participatory group discussion as well as the personalised one-to-one, where others will listen and learn and provide peer support. And usually they do replace a clinical appointment. In terms of the delivery team, we have the clinician who delivers the central part of the session, giving their clinical guidance and expertise and completing any reviews or prescription changes. The facilitator works alongside the clinician in a live group clinic, welcoming patients, setting up the session, as well as feeding the patient's questions to the clinician and supporting with documenting. And last but not least, we have the clinic coordinator, and that's the person involved in the behind the scenes logistical setup. So they don't need to be involved in the direct delivery, but they will invite the patients and prepare the physical or virtual room. In terms of risks, we do need to think about particular risks to manage in a group clinic. So things like third-party disclosure and confidentiality, informed consent to share medical results and participate in the group clinic. And if you're delivering VGCs, there's a few extra layers to make sure that the person behind the screen is the person you think they are. So we've developed some really clear processes behind this, approved by NHS England. So that's all detailed within our training programme. Okay, and I will hand over to Georgina to give you a bit of context around neighbourhood health. Over to you, Georgina.
Thanks, Alicia. So let's just remind ourselves about the aims of the Neighbourhood Health Programme. So the Neighbourhood Health Programme is about creating healthier communities, helping people of all ages to live healthy, active lives for as long as possible, and improving experience of health and social care. It's also about increasing people's agency to manage their health and their own care. And a key element of this is bringing together the sort of assets within a community around the health side of things, but also working with community organisations and also integrating specialist services with community services, which are all things you're going to hear about from the North Sedgemoor team today. Next slide. There are 6 pillars of neighbourhood health, and every ICB is going to be working on building these pillars so that the neighbourhood health model takes hold. And notice in particular that there's a focus on modern general practice within this, taking a population health approach, standardising community health services, delivering proactive personalised care, and a home first approach around intermediate care and urgent care. So we are looking for a new way of working that allows us to be proactive, to bring together the benefits of primary care, but also working with community services and our specialist services. Next slide. Please do mute yourself if you aren't muted currently. Okay. So in 2025-26, the focus is on people who have got the highest level of need and preventing hospital admissions and admissions to care homes. And this is people who've got multiple comorbidities and who are at the highest risk. And one of the things that's really key to remember about this group of people is their carers as well, because 20% of hospital admissions and admissions to care homes happen because carers change their circumstances or have a bit of a breakdown, rather than it being about changes in the person's medical condition and capabilities. Next slide, please. And just to highlight that group clinics is recommended as part of modern general practice. In this document that was published in 2023, it talks about shared medical appointments, but recognises that this model, which is shared medical appointments are group clinics, is a really good way of supporting personalisation, which is also part of the neighbourhood health model. Next slide. So there's a really good publication which we will send out to you all after today, which talks about neighbourhood group clinics. And as I'm reading these through and you're looking at these, I just want you to notice them, because in very many ways the North Sedgemoor team are the kind of pioneers of this model. So it's about proactively supporting people with complex care needs and their family carers who need support from an MDT. It's about taking care into the community, delivering it potentially in community settings, delivering proactive, preventative, personalised care that builds self-efficacy in our people, scheduling these frequently so that people proactively attend them and we address their emerging needs proactively, having a drop-in option so that if people become unwell, they can pop in and get us some easy access to some support, supporting care coordination and delivering this as a multidisciplinary team involving the voluntary community, faith and social enterprise partners as facilitators. So bearing that model in mind as your kind of benchmark, listen to what the North Sedgemoor team have got to share with us and see how close they are. It is very close to this model. Next slide, please. So over to you guys.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Georgina and Alicia, for bringing us here today. We've got an enormous team with you today. So our chat box crew, we've got Steph and Leanne from SASP. We've got Liz, our pharmacist. We've got Karen and David in our care coordination team. So they're going to be dwelling in on your conversation. So please be involved in this conversation. Please ask questions. They are the crew who are hopefully going to be able to help along the way. But first of all, I really want to introduce myself. I'm Helen Rostron. I'm an occupational therapist, and I've been working with North Sedgemoor for just over 4 years. And I've also just recently got the OT professional or practice development lead role in the whole of the Somerset Foundation Trust. So that's including working with over 240 OTs in secondary care, in the acute, community, mental health and learning disability team. So that is an amazing opportunity for me in being in clinical practice within primary care, but also strategically thinking about workforce. So who is my sidekick who's very, very close to me today?
Yeah, we're not normally this close, but it is hopefully just on the screens. Hi, everybody. Matthew Dolman. I'm a GP, complex care GP for the last 4 years within a PCN neighbourhood. But before that, 27 years a GP partner. But great to be here.
It's brilliant. So let's move on to the next slide, because we're going to kick off straight away with a jazz legend, Miles Davis. We love this quote. Myself and Matthew are no way jazz experts. I don't know if you can hear a bit of jazz in the background going on. So as I entered a room with my team only a couple of weeks ago, Matthew just decided to put a bit of jazz on and we just laughed. But what was so fun about this was it's helped us in a metaphor of what we're doing in developing neighbourhood-based care. I mean, this quote just sums it up beautifully in grounding change in reality, confidence and possibility. So you guys sat here with us today. Don't be afraid of mistakes. There's no mistakes. Don't play what is there. Play what isn't. And that's what we're doing. That is purely this last year of development of group clinics. We want it to be different, just as it's sitting in our national, regional, local policies. That's what we've got to do, guys. So let's move on to that next slide. So we want you to feel relaxed. Just get in that sofa, the chair, whatever you're sat in right now, because this picture just shows what we do as a neighbourhood. We come together around that laptop. Today, obviously, we've got our chat crew in the chat box, but I'm now going to introduce Fiona and Claire, who are part of this conversation today. So Fiona, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi there, everybody. I'm Fiona Green. I'm a lead advanced clinical practitioner, nurse by qualification, and I'm responsible for frailty and complex care across Somerset Foundation Trust. Great to be here today. Claire, over to you.
Hi, I'm Claire Hunter. I am the Social Prescribing Manager for Somerset Activity and Sports Partnership. To give you a little bit of context, SASP is the active partnership for Somerset. We are a charitable foundation and our job is to get people across Somerset access to physical activity and movement. Our health team, we're very much about bringing health and community and movement together. And as part of that, we've provided the facilitators for the group clinics and also some physical resources and our connections and network with the voluntary sector locally.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys, for introducing yourselves. So as we just move on into this next picture, I'm going to hand over to my sidekick.
Yeah, so where are we? So we're in semi-rural Somerset. So our place and neighbourhood is approximately 50,000 people, bordered to the west by the Atlantic and to the east, sadly at the moment, by the floods. So that mist you can see in that overshot, that's to do with the way the water sits on the Somerset levels and creates the mist. And we have within us a coastal community that is a strip of a population, 25,000 people that have increased deprivation. They have challenges in terms of carer strain, and their sort of complex comorbidity has given us this focus. Again, going back to the neighbourhood principles, population health data have led us to sort of really focus in on this cohort of people in this coastal strip. There's an over 10-year difference in life expectancy within 6 miles from west to east. And again, the other sort of, we haven't done this by chance, the design piece, we've thought about this. Their pathways are fragmented with multiple different hospital trusts. We sit in a sort of a border hinterland. So that drove us to have a focus around people with complex comorbidity, but a lens around heart failure. So we'll come on to that. But yeah, it's an amazing place to live and be part of.
It's beautiful. So let's just move on to the next slide in response to that challenge and why we obviously created these heart failure group clinics. But this is our team. Our team has evolved. It still is evolving. That's purely what Neighbourhood is about. You know, in this photograph, we've got all different people in our team. Some of our team have moved on. So we've got Becky there, we've got Catherine. I think Catherine's on the call today from GPSU. Hi. Obviously, she's now moved out of our team. But this is the whole point, guys. You know, having ELC being our trainer, you know, giving us that package, that's your nuts and bolts. But what's incredibly good for you, and it's your opportunity, is seek those flourishes. Who is going to move into this jazz bit of music for you? Who are you going to bring? Which players are going to help you produce? And what we did is we sat together and we created our own aims. And they were all under our quadruple aim. So do you want to go through
Yeah,
that?
I mean, the quadruple aim is internationally recognised for those that have done any improvement work. We absolutely focus in on that fourth, the joy at work. Many of us might find that difficult to actually say. Sometimes I feel a little bit guilty when I try and sort of express that. But there is no doubt we have felt joy at work by coming together as an evolving neighbourhood team. And again, I don't like the word integrated. We're not integrated yet. We're joined up, we're loose, but we're gelling around people, families and carers, and that is special because that's what most of us are here to do. So joy at work, find it, and we believe this model can help deliver that.
Yeah, find your allies, because they're the guys who are going to keep you going all through the space. So let's move on to that next slide. And we're going to a little bit of behavioural science.
Yeah, well, yeah, so again, for many of us, I hope this slide, I don't hope, it's just a reality, isn't it? We live and work in what's called a VUCA environment. That, again, is recognised internationally. The world we inhabit and work in is volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous. And that makes it really tough to do the change, any change. But if you embrace that, look for vision, develop understanding, seek clarity, and be agile, we can move forward. And that again is something that we've used as a recognizing the context. Neighborhood working isn't new. Most of us have been trying to do this for 27 years. But embracing the complexity and working with it is really important.
It's hugely important, Matthew. And I think what's one of the key things that Matthew always brings, we love learning about leadership, don't we, and teaming, is we bring this to the forefront. So when you're working with your new team, you could be coming from completely different cultures, different sectors, all coming together, all merging. If you bring this to the forefront every time you meet, it gives context for confidence, because actually when someone's feeling like they've got butterflies, or they're feeling like, oh, I don't really know what to do, I don't know how to get around this barrier, actually bringing this to the forefront really, really helps. So let's move on, because we're going to start going into a little bit more. So going back to that metaphor of jazz is an ensemble. That means it's not a silo.
What does that mean?
So it means we're not a silo. We're not working in a solo. We are working together as a team. It's not chaos, okay? It has a structure, a key, a tempo, a shared chord progression. And I love this. But in that structure, musicians improvise, respond in real time to each other, to the room, to the audience. And I just think that just embraces what we've done in group clinics. When you're in that clinic space, you know, we are the experts. What happens, and Claire's going to talk about this in a minute when she talks about facilitating, it's incredible because the room works together. Suddenly they become the experts. They mentor each other, don't they? And we just have to respond, and we're flipping the narrative. And that's where the joy of work comes, because suddenly you have clinicians and health coaches all working together, completely different in newness. So that's exciting for us. So let's move on to the next slide.
So yeah, this just again, culture. We've deliberately found time and made active effort to deliver, we believe, psychological safety as a team. And again, many of you will hear that expression. It's quite a buzz expression, but it's absolutely essential to deliver group clinics at a neighborhood level. You've got to work at it. And if you want to look somebody up, quick sort of CPD piece, Amy Edmondson, is a professor in Harvard, and she is the world expert on how to build and develop effective, high-performing teams, and that's what we aspire to be. So we've teamed up, we've failed well, and we've learned fast, and then we repeat. So that's been our journey. That's, again, I think, what we have to expect. This is not a lift and shift blueprint of a model. You've got to work at this, and we could do that together across the country. We could develop that network, but psychological safety, understand it, really live it, just don't say it.
Yeah, and you've taken those first steps. You're here today. That's exactly what I did a year ago when I was landed with, Helen, we want you to lead group clinics. So you're taking those steps. So let's move on to the next slide. So our design principles, I believe, we're going to go into. These are our big three: data-driven, proactive care, personalised centre. Let's just move on to the next slide, because I think we're going to sandwich this a little bit together. So let's start.
Yeah, so we actively, deliberately been personalised and proactive. So we've used data at the very outset to identify a cohort of people. I think there's a question in the chat about who might be, a good group. Anybody, we believe, from a person-centred point of view, can respond well to a group clinic environment. We use data. We use population health data to target the big population. We use prescribing data to refine that down because our team had a strong pharmacy element. And then we've also got a local artificial intelligence tool that will enable that group to be further refined, so we can actually be really specific about, let's get upstream before there's a crisis, engage with these people. We then used a texting method followed by a phone call. We developed a website with SASP so that we could send a little video to humanize the invite. One of the big challenges with any personalized proactive care is connection with people. Cold calling is a horrible expression, but there is a real skill there. And as I say, we've developed that. We're constantly iterating it.
Yeah.
Care coordinations, Karen's on the phone. Care coordinators are essential in the sort of build up of the team that you've got to have to support the actual delivery.
Absolutely, and it's all about that better experience and just being local, because that's what we needed in our population, is pull people together to create that connection, create that self-management, and hopefully not that cliff edge. Hopefully they will then move on and carry going. But what we did, so again, you'll work with Georgina. She'll give you that beautiful structure, okay? All of you will be trained on that structure, so that's pretty much your blueprint. But what we wanted to do, which was our flourish, is we wanted to create 3 sessions, and they were monthly, so it would give time for our participants to practice, have a go, get into what they wanted to be doing, and then they could come back. And we used that as our baseline for our value, didn't we?
And our primary output was a personalized care and support plan. So again, we were deliberate in what we were supporting people to think about their values, to think about what matters to them, and then to actually they leave with a personalized care and support plan which they've co-created, co-thought through.
And then that can go on to our CIDR, which is our shared care digital record across the county. So we're kind of adding in that extra digital layer. But again, guys, this is still evolving. We are only about to jump into our second group clinics on Friday, and we're still playing with it. So let's move on to the next slide. So our measurements, this is really important. We wanted something snappy. We called it the 5 N's because we wanted it in plain, simple language, and this is what was so key. But behind them, we have key measures, okay? But what we really want to do is bring it back to the people. And as we're going to move on to this next slide around our topic board and results, Claire is going to take over and bring her element into this. Thanks, Claire.
Thank you. So as you'll see, those 4 measures, if you're used to the ELC method, you'll be aware of the results board. That's what goes up on the results board. So everybody sitting in the clinic gets to see their results alongside other people's results. Now, this allows them to sort of share and compare. They get a moment to see how they are looking alongside their peers. They'll find out what they've got in common. They also might notice, for instance, that somebody else's movement score is higher. How is somebody with the same issues as me able to move more? I wonder what they're doing. So it starts to generate those questions. We then also built the topic board, and this was built from a number of sources. So Pumping Marvellous provides a lot of information from experts by experience. So we looked at what mattered to people who were living with heart failure, things that their heart failure might impact, but also things that would impact their health. And we built these 8 different measures. So when we come into the point of asking people what questions they'd like to present to their clinician, we offer these subtitles as elements that they should consider. Now, in the chat, people were asking about conditions. I believe the condition is what gets people in the room, but what's actually happening here is very common to anyone with long-term health conditions. As a health coach, these are the issues that we're discussing with everybody, because they're things that everybody needs and things that everybody struggles to access when they are ill. Also, many of these, everything except for the medicine, is non-clinical. They're things that they're doing in their own space. So it takes away that thought of, if I go to the doctor, they will give me the pills and they will fix me, into what am I doing that will improve my health? What could I take away? And we really are trying to drive the conversation towards that self-management side of their well-being.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Claire. And Alicia, let's move on to that next slide to show our impact. You can read, guys. I'm not going to dwell massively on this slide, because actually I want to bring Matthew and Claire back in because we've got some beautiful patient stories. Matthew, please tell me about your goldfish.
Well, they weren't my goldfish, but one of the chaps that I went to follow up to visit, he was out, and I asked his wife, who eventually got to the door where he was, and she said he's gone to the garden centre on his mobility scooter, which is a 45-minute scoot through holiday traffic in Burnham on the Super. So I thought, oh gosh, that's great, because this chap has severe heart failure, struggled to walk more than 15 meters to get into the room for the group clinic. Anyway, went back later that afternoon because I was a little bit anxious, walked into the room, and Barry was there holding up a bag of 5 goldfish. I thought he was going to show me a cactus, but no, he bought 5 goldfish. And I said, Barry, why have you, he said, why have you bought the goldfish? And he said, Doc, I've been meaning to refill my aquarium for 5 years, but didn't think I was going to live long enough to warrant buying the fish. So, and on the back of the group experience, he's gone to replenish his aquarium. And to me, that, of all the metrics, that to me absolutely just sums it up. So Barry's restocked his aquarium. He's out, he's trying to be active, he's embracing what he learned from the group. And
I love it, because Barry would have also helped so many other people in that group, because he's going to come back on Friday and he's going to tell that story, which is going to be brilliant, because we're going to bring our initial group back in for another session sort of 6 months later to check in on their personalised care and support plans. So Claire, please come back in and tell us about your singing lady.
Yeah, so one of our participants came in, and obviously these are very complex people. She had mobility issues and chronic pain alongside. I noticed that fibromyalgia has been popping up in the chat. And again, the management for chronic pain very much looks like our topic board. But she was very quiet, she was very withdrawn, she was with her partner, who is also her carer, not really talking and engaging with us very much, and frankly just looked a bit miserable. At the end of the 3rd session, we went round and we said, what are you going to do next? What's your next plan? And she broke into a rendition of the Bee Gees' Staying Alive. And it was like a whole new person. We'd found her extroversion in that space. Yeah, I wish we could have as a measure how we measure the brightness of people, because that's what we see. They are brighter. And that's what we're seeing the change with.
We really do. By that 3rd session, when they've got to know each other, that they just lift. And then when we hit into the marketplace, which we didn't speak about actually, but the marketplace is where we, on our 3rd session, we bring everybody into the community. So anyone we can think of who would be really helpful to link these people with. Yeah,
and just jumping in, there's a question there from about medication optimized. So we deliberately targeted, using the data, people who weren't optimized on their 4 pillars of heart failure medication. So we had a sort of a knowledge that we could, in this case, I chose for the medics, those that were on low dose ramipril or no ramipril at all. So in one of the sessions, we could talk to that medication experience and encourage people potentially to up titrate and to work with us as a clinical team to try and optimize their medication as a test, as a proof.
So let's move on, because our next slide, we want to hear from our people. We've got a beautiful video to show you. Just stay with it. The first couple of minutes is kind of quiet, the first few seconds. Brilliant. Absolute gem. So we're going to move on again to the next slide, and this is about our enablers. So for me personally, we've got a bi-monthly teaming. So that meant every other week we met on Teams for 30 minutes. We intentionally do that. We are committed because we are all over the county, but we just come together to work through any blockers, and it builds that relationship and that trust. And we always start, don't we, Matthew, at the beginning with, how are you landing? That first question is so important. So what else have we got? We've got a team training here, which we know about from ELC, which is amazing when you've got people moving in and out of your team, because that gives you a good structure. And for me, it's around leadership for everyone. Everybody can be leaders in our team, and that's been amazing in our collaboration. Anything else you wanted to add in there, Matthew?
Yeah, well, the saxophone is probably the wicked question, that the funding issue. And again, if there's anyone in the national team on the call, we need to think about, how does this group clinic at neighbourhood level become supported at neighbourhood, and how does systems support this work? We use non-recurrent NHSE funding from a heart failure programme to Kickstarters, and we've been fortunate that the PCN have mobilised funding to allow us to continue. Somerset, as a county, to their credit, have invested in proactive care teams. So that's unusual. I do a lot of regional work as well. So I'm aware of the landscape being variable, but we're fortunate in Somerset we can continue, but we've got to face into this challenge about how do we use the money we've got, or how do we actually bring our teams together around this model of care. So yeah, it needs to be thought about for sure.
Absolutely. And I think you've got to remember, for us, we are just one day a week. We're doing everything else in our normal practice. So, you know, this, I think we've done incredibly well in a short space of time with not a lot of time. So I want to encourage you guys that you can do this as well. So let's just move on, hopefully to Fiona next for her reflection.
Hi there. I'm going to just talk a little bit about the impact on me, and how it's kind of been a really amazing opportunity. So what started, my role as a lead ACP for frailty, I'm responsible across the entire county of Somerset. There's only 2 of us in the role, so there's a huge mileage, and I'm responsible for community stuff, and I'm also clinical leadership for the community hospital inpatient space. So this was a ask by Matthew to join him in doing this, just because of the relationship that we'd built up over clinical sharing of patients over the years. I've been across Somerset now for the last 8 years in the frailty space. And so it was an amazing opportunity. So the 3 key things that I've picked up on this, when we have to really think about sort of being green and all of that kind of stuff. Historically, I would probably see 6 patients in a day at maximum, with the amount of mileage I do. On this opportunity, once a month, we then have 10 to 12 patients coming in. They all bring a +1. And that's in the morning clinic, and then we have the afternoon clinic. So you're looking at sort of 24 patients or individuals that come in who we have a clinical oversight. Sitting in the back of the room, I can listen, I can watch, I can pick up diagnosis that patients don't even know that they've got, and really question patients and talk to them really informally about their conditions and things. So from a mileage point of view, obviously it saves me a huge amount. It's cost effective for my for Somerset Foundation Trust, and also for the patients. They're all really complex, so most of them will have, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 clinic appointments or GP appointments ongoing that they have to go to, and they have to travel. Whereas in this situation, we're all in the one room. They can talk to the pharmacist, they can talk to the GP, they can talk to me as a frailty expert, and all of those kind of things. And then the OT, the physio, and then most importantly, what we've done with this whole thing is demedicalize it all. Frailty is exactly what I'm passionate about, and the important thing is that you're holistic and you take away the medical drama of it all, and that's what we've achieved. The productivity as clinicians means that we have taken all of the experts from across our organisation, multiple organisations within our neighbourhood, and put us all in the same room. There's no lanyards, there's no badges, there's no who are you, we just all deliver the expertise. So it's really made frailty and complexity come to life, and I think it's absolutely an essential part of how we have to deliver the NHS 10-year plan, but most importantly it's how we're going to have to deliver patient-centred care moving forward. So
absolutely, Fiona, you are spot on. I could keep Fiona going. Maybe we should come back, Georgina, because you can see the joy, this is just our passion. So let's just move on to the next slide. I'm not going to jump in on this massively, but I just love one of our quotes from one of our team members. People have stopped seeing themselves as separate agencies and started seeing themselves as one team. And that's amazing. Guys, we've got an incredible, exciting opportunity here to get the right people in the right place. This is our time to enable the workforce to deliver differently. Who can we use? And for me, as an ACP, an allied health professional, wow, we could be using so much in advanced clinical practice and enhanced practice. There's just so much that potentially could move. So in the next 10 years, I can't wait to see what happens.
And it just underpins, going back to that, what's on the title of this presentation of the webinar, is it neighbourhood? You know, we are living that neighbourhood model. Voluntary community sector with SAS, the local trust with Fiona and others. Helen's actually employed by the trust but works within the PCN. Then you've got the primary care element and local authority we actually work with too. So, you know, team developed neighbourhoods, joined up teaming. It's exciting, it's positive.
But you have to have that cadence, okay? You have to have that constant going, that constant linking, that constant relationship building, because it makes it easier to link. So let's just move on to our final slide, I believe, our next step. So Matthew, what is the jam sandwich representing?
Well, I'm very traditional when it comes to spread and favour jam, and that's so important. What's our opportunity to really think about spread? We're thinking about spread across Somerset, with spread across the region, spread across the country, spread and adoption. We don't do it well historically, so you know, let's actually think about this in an active way, in a policy way. Is one real ask and ambition. Training and development, you know, the music analogy plays through here. People have just got to be unleashed and brought together in supportive teaming environments. And we stay focused on personalized. I don't know why I kept saying that. Proactive care for families, and you unlock, you know, their movement, those green spaces, that holistic lifestyle approach that can make such a difference. And the final picture I put on, Helen.
So my final challenge to you guys, no, sorry, go back, that's it, is this girl on her bike. Guys, you've got to get your hands off the handlebars. You've just got to be free. You've got to let go of control. You've just got to come in with your team. You've got to ride together, and you've got to enjoy the journey. We've had bumps, we've had fails, but do you know what? We've got up on our bike, we've kept on spinning, and that's my challenge to you. I want you to do that. I want you to be an ensemble of jazz, and not the conductor Let's just be free. Let's let go. So I hope you've enjoyed today. I hope we brought something that's going to resonate with what you're doing and helped your learning along the way. So I'm going to pass back to Georgina and Alicia. Thanks so very much, guys.
Thank you so much. And, you know, it's so inspiring listening to you guys. The energy is literally palpable. And I just want to share a little thought of reflection as we're going to tell you a little bit about what we did to support the team so that you can get an idea of the kind of support that we offer. Do keep posting your questions in the chat, but you know what is being recommended right now as part of the neighbourhood health model is the old traditional MDT, where we all sit in a darkened room and talk about the patients, you know, and they're not there. Okay, so what I want you to think about is, did you even need to have that? Helen and Matthew, would having an MDT in a closed dark room have helped, or did this just get rid of that and in the meantime build relationships between the lot of you, which is actually how we achieve that joined up working, isn't it?
I think it moves them from being passive into active, because they're not just there and absorbing, they're there as part of that group. So they're still having their clinical time, but the others are listening to that moment. And that, I think, in itself is incredibly powerful.
And I do think for us at the moment, that MDT function is still really important as well. So the complexity of people, Georgina, from their health and social, the wider determinants. I do think, so we're with one of our experiments probably going to be where we actually use the group clinic approach to do a pre-MDT person-centered approach that then feeds into our more formal MDT. So that's our sort of next iteration to try and do both and.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then the other thing that you can do as well is after the group clinic, you can almost do your MDT then, can't you? Because actually you've just met all the patients and they've just shared their challenges. So, you know, that's the ideal time to have your little mini case conference and say, right, what we're going to do with each of these people and get your integrated plans together. The reason I just brought it to the table is that a little bit of my frustration around neighbourhood health is that, as you said, Matthew, we've been trying to do this for 27 years and, well, at least, you know, probably longer. And, you know, but we're still resorting back to the same things that we've tried in the past, which haven't worked and which just take more time. And unless we think radically differently about how we're going to do this, I just don't think that it will make any difference, as it hasn't in the past, you know?
And I think, it's what we've found is that the group clinic model is a catalyst to bring those teams together at Neighbourhood with a person, family, carer at the centre. And that, I think that is a really critical observation over 30 years. And you know, we were delivering neighbourhood health 25 years ago in the practice when the midwife was next door, the health visitor, the district nurse, and we were tight. But we've got to change the model. And this is a great, we believe, a great shift.
Yeah, absolutely. So very quickly, the next slide, I'm just going to share for you how we supported the team. So we started with a program planning day and design day, where we got everybody who were the sort of key stakeholders together, and we spent an afternoon thinking about shared values, design principles, designing the model, thinking about our community assets, thinking about how we were going to, what our shared ambition for the program was, and much of that has come true. And there is something about see it, believe it, and it will happen. You know, we manifested, if you like, the success that you guys have actually gone on to create, but we co-created that together. And I think that's what gave you such a strong foundation for this work. Then we did a program orientation session to make sure that everybody knew the resources that were available around the training and how to onboard everybody to get the training, which a lot of it is self-study. And there's also a route map that supports the change management side of things. And the team then all completed in their own time some self-study materials online, which can be fitted in around sort of other clinical duties. But then it all came together in a face-to-face mobilisation day, where we actually went to the place where the group clinic was going to be held. The Neighbourhood Group Clinic was going to be held in the afternoon. We went and did a dry run. And I think it's fair to say we realised that wasn't the right venue, and so the venue was changed.
It was
at
a
that
sport.
point.
It was a sports hall, and basically the acoustics just didn't work. So again, we shifted to another community centre. So yes.
Yeah. So the dry run, I don't think I can emphasize enough the importance of a dry run, and ideally in the place where you're planning to run the session. And then you guys went live just over a month later and have been working on your own. We've been supporting you to develop a case study and sort of think about evaluation and all that kind of thing. But, you know, hopefully what we did really empowered you, you know, and that is our purpose. Is at ELC is to give you the tools. You know, we're the midwives. You know, we want you to birth an amazing group clinic and then go on and grow it and support it to thrive and develop. So that's just giving you a little bit of an insight, and all of our training is actually Personalised Care Institute accredited, which some of you will know is quite a challenge to get that, and also CPD certified as well. So
we invested in that training. So all the team have done that training. It has to be a foundation piece. Don't skimp on it, because we've seen that before. So yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. So
just
go.
I was just going to jump in, Georgina. I just saw a question, a very specific one there about just working with multiple practices. So we've got 5 GP practices in our PCN and neighbourhood. We've been working for years, literally since the inception of PCNs, to build the relationships and trust to allow us to work together, and for me or one of our pharmacists to change medications. And we invested in our EMIS system. So we have an EMIS hub system that gives us an overview of all 5 practices, so we can make changes to the medication. So again, you've got to delve into those sort of organic, really gritty bits of making this safe, and communicate with the practices, or whichever sector, whether it's the geriatricians, whether it's the social workers. Again, you need to work on that as well, and that's taken a while.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So over to you, Alicia.
Thank you. I'll just bring the session to a close for us. So if you are interested in accessing training and change management support to deliver group clinics, pop your email into the chat so I can pick up with you after the session today, or you can email me, Alicia, ALISHA, at elcworks.co.uk to let me know, and we can pick up afterwards. All of our webinars are CPD accredited, so do feel free to sign up to our upcoming webinars. We deliver them every month. We have one coming up in a couple of weeks, actually, in March, on women's health group clinics. Then in April, we have a masterclass on getting going with group clinics and how to mobilise them really well. In May, we have one on lifestyle medicine and group clinics. And then in June, we have weight management. So do feel free to join us for those webinars. They are CPD certified, and you can get an hour of your CPD points. We also have some NHS England commissioned Vanguard programmes ongoing at the moment. So we've acquired some funding to support sites across the NHS England, the UK. So please do join us on our launch webinars on the 4th and 5th of March to hear more about those programmes and how you can apply for them for the training. So follow that QR code, have a look on our website and see which webinars you want to sign up to next. So temperature check, final temperature check. So do let me know in the chat, on a scale from 1 to 10, how confident do you feel now about your understanding of the concept of neighbourhood group clinics? And whilst you're doing that, I'll just pop the QR code up again so that if you missed it, you can scan that and get access to our website. In the follow-up email as well, I'll let you know how to sign up to our webinars too. So keep your numbers coming in from your temperature check. I can see we've got, oh, lots of high numbers. We've got 9s, 8s, fantastic. Oh, we've got a 10. Wonderful. That tells me that it's been really clear today. The team from North Sedgemoor have really brought it home on how good these neighbourhood group clinics are. So thank you so much for doing that. Also, feel free to pop into the chat what your next step is after hearing all of that fantastic work today. What are your thoughts after today? What are you going to do with this newfound information? It might not be new for all of you. What are you going to do with this newfound motivation, perhaps, about group clinics? Pop it into the chat, let us know. And then finally, I will leave you with that note there. If you do want to access training, please do let us know in the chat so I can pick up with you. But I've got nothing left to say except very, very thank you to the North Sedgemoor team for joining us and working so hard on your group clinics. They are fantastic, and the videos really illustrate the impacts that the patients are experiencing too. So we'll make sure we get those sent out in the follow-up email too. Wonderful. I'll hang around for the next 5 minutes as we've tied up slightly early. But yeah,